Let's start today on our backs. And however you're comfortable on your back. So that could be legs extended out in front of you, or it could be soles of the feet on the mat wide with the knees together. So one of those options, close the eyes. Let's start with the breath. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Out through the mouth, let it go. Finding a reset. Deep breath in through the nose. Exhale out of the mouth, let it go. One more like that. Big breath in. Exhale, let it go. This time in through the nose. Hold it at the very top. Back out through the nose, nice and slow. Keep going with this breath, smoothly in through the nose. Same way back out. Bring the right knee in toward the chest. So if you keep the left foot on the mat, that's fine. If you feel like the lower back's okay with you extending the left leg forward, then you can do that too. Just let the left leg rest, heel down, leg heavy, bringing the right knee in. And then notice if that right sit bone and hip started to lift up as you bring the right knee in. See if you can lower it so that if you were standing, the sit bones would be even. And then bring the left hand to the top of the left thigh. Try to press that left thigh down. It wants to lift up and away from the mat. You can even press out the sole of the left foot. So we're starting to engage that left leg. Right knee comes out to the side. So you can bring the right knee out to the side as much as you want, but that left hip, left heel, left shoulder needs to stay down on the mat. If that lifts, you've gone too far with the right knee. And then check the right sit bone. Did it start to lift up again? Can you keep it level with the left sit bone? And then notice where the knee and the leg has to be in order to do that. Right knee comes back up to center, hug it in, extend that right leg up. So you're grabbing onto the back of the right thigh. And here you can play with the bend in the knee. Heel goes up toward the sky, toes down toward the face. You can also play with the distance between the leg and the body. So the closer the leg comes in, the more intense this is. But you're looking for a gentle stretch. So bring some ease into it. And keep breathing into the backside of that right leg. Right foot comes down to the mat. Hug the left knee in toward the chest. And maybe you extend the right leg forward. It's open. See how that feels on the lower back. If it doesn't feel great, then just bring the sole of the right foot down and stay there. Check out where the sit bones are. See if you can level them off. Right hand, top of the right thigh. Keep pressing that right leg down, pressing out through the sole of the right foot. Left knee comes out to the left, but keep the right hip, heel, shoulder down on the mat, and then level off the sit bones again. Lengthen that inner left thigh, keeping it long. Getting into that left hip. But keeping some integrity, even though you're lying down on your back. Left knee comes back to center. Extend that left leg up. Grab onto the back of the left thigh, interlace the fingers. Maybe a bend in the left knee. Maybe it goes straighter, toes down toward the face. It's up to you how close the leg comes in. Really only if you're not feeling anything, then you would bring the leg in closer. If you feel something where you are, then that's a good place to be. You can always back off too. And we'll bring the left foot down to the mat, right foot down to the mat, hug both knees in toward the chest. And then extend both legs up, reach the arms up. So hands are reaching up toward the sky, feet are right over the hips, hug the belly in, and reach the right arm back behind you overhead and the left leg forward. Come back to center. Other side, left arm goes back, right leg goes forward. Back to center, right arm, left leg. So opposite arm, opposite leg. Back to center, left arm reaches back, right leg reaches forward. Back to center, one more each side, right arm back, left leg forward. Back to center, same thing, other side, left arm back, right arm, right leg forward. Back to center. Keep the legs up, interlace the fingers back behind the head, resting the head in the hands, keep the elbows wide, hug the core in, look up, take an inhale. Exhale, lift, shoulder blades up and away from the mat. Inhale back, exhale up. Inhale back, exhale up. Inhale back, exhale up. Stay here, or you can start to move the legs away from you if you want more of a challenge. Maybe just a third of the way. It makes a big difference. Inhale back, exhale up. Squeeze those inner thighs together. Inhale back, exhale up. Inhale back, exhale up. One more. Inhale back, exhale up. If you want to take the feet lower, you could take them lower, maybe halfway. Inhale back, exhale up. Inhale back, exhale up. Inhale back, exhale up. Hug the knees in toward the chest. We only did 3 of those because I could only do 3 of those. All right, set the feet down onto the mat. Roll over to your right side and use that left hand to bring yourself up to seated. And we'll come forward to hands and knees, tabletop. So once you get there, setting up for cat-cow, that'll be a nice way to kind of open up the front side of the body. So stack the shoulders over the wrists, hips over the knees on an inhale, reach the heart forward, feel that length in the front side of the body. And on the exhale, round the whole spine, chin in toward the chest. Keep going on your own. This is all yours. Link the breath with the movement. Maybe you take bigger movements. Maybe you take smaller movements and you pause and stay in one spot and just breathe. But this is a nice time to flow on your own on your mat and check in with yourself to see what you need out of your practice today. Setting an intention if you'd like, or maybe even a dedication to someone else who needs it. One more cycle, forward and back. Back to neutral spine. So from here, step the feet back behind you, come into plank pose, top of a push-up. You can always bring the knees down if you'd like. Reach the heart forward, spread the fingers wide. So the core's turned on. You want to make sure you're hugging it in a little bit, squeezing those outer hips in toward the midline, and then stretching the legs back behind you. But those quads are lifting up, like they're going up through the sternum. Gaze going forward also really helps keep you longer. And then the tiniest bend in the elbows, not one you can see, but one that you can feel. So it doesn't feel like the elbows are locked. And some of you might not have any idea what I'm talking about. Not everyone has that sensation, but some of us do have that sensation where it feels like we're locking the bones. And we want to make sure that we're using our muscles, especially when we have this kind of weight. And slowly start to lower all the way down to the mat. So you'll set the whole body down, tops of the feet down, reach the arms back behind you, squeeze those palms of the hands together, and then lift and spread the chest. Shalabhasana. So keeping the feet down, chest is reaching forward. And exhale, release. Just take a beat here. Inhale in through the nose, back out through the nose. Come back up. Squeeze the hands together. Hug the belly in away from the mat. Keep reaching the heart forward, pointing those big toes back. And exhale, release. Rest the head on the hands. Make a pillow. Just stack one hand on top of the other. Let the forehead come down. We'll do one more of those back bends, but take another breath where you are. Then start to press into the tops of the feet. So you hug those outer ankles in, reach the arms back behind you, squeezing the palms of the hands together, and then lift and spread the chest. If you feel open enough, you could hover the feet, but don't lift them too high. Just think about barely lifting them away from the mat and pointing the toes way over the back of the mat. And let it all go. Come back to that resting pose. Other hand on top. Let the forehead come down. And then bend the legs. So you're lifting the feet, and then you can move the feet side to side like windshield wipers. If that bothers the lower back, you can skip it and just rest the feet back down. And we'll come to child's pose. Set the feet back down onto the mat. Bring the hands underneath you. Come up to hands and knees. Big toes together. Sit the hips back. Walk the hands forward. Forehead comes down to the mat. So feeling an opening across the upper body, shoulders, maybe. If you're already open there, you might not feel anything. That's fine too. Staying in child's pose, lift the head, just gaze forward. So you're trying to press down into the hands and keep the forearms lifted away from the mat. You'll take this right hand, you'll thread it through underneath the left arm and come down onto the right side of the head. So still in child's pose, but we're adding a shoulder opening in our child's pose. And arms are just like in this L shape. Back to child's pose, lift the head, right arm reaches forward. This time, other side. Left arm comes underneath you, threading underneath the right arm, and then set the left side of the head down onto the mat. Back to child's pose, both arms forward, rest the forehead down. You can move the head side to side a couple of times slowly. And we'll take this into downward facing dog. Come forward onto hands and knees, tuck the toes, lift the hips. For this first downward facing dog, let's take the feet wide, so to the outer edges of the mat. So a wider stance in your downward facing dog. You might be able to get the heels closer to the mat. Maybe they touch. Hug the belly in, push the hips up and back, and hug the lowest front ribs in too. So you keep that length in the spine. This is a nice way to open up the legs. You can always take a wider stance whenever you want to. Come back to feet hip width distance apart, or you can keep the feet wider if you feel like that's better. Right foot steps up between the hands like a runner's lunge, but we'll set that back knee down. And then listen carefully. You're going to take this back foot, the left foot, bring it toward the center of the mat. So over to the right, like a kickstand. And then right forearm, right thigh, left arm reaches up to the sky. So it's like side angle pose, but the back knee is down. Forearm to thigh, you're just reaching up with that left arm. And you're trying to keep that right knee going straight forward over the second and third toe. So what's nice about having the forearm is you can kind of guide the knee so it doesn't cave in. If you feel like the hips are open enough, you could take this right hand and bring it down inside the foot and keep the same pose. Left arm still reaching up. So it's a little bit different. Right knee and right arm are connecting and pressing into one another, and that keeps the right knee and the right hip in line. Belly hugs in, you're reaching way up. Sending the breath to that right hip. So keeping the back knee down, take this to warrior two. You'll just bring the chest upright. And what's nice is you can keep the head right over the hips, spread the arms out wide, look forward over the right hand. Bring the hands right down in front of you. So right down in front of the shoulders. Turn those right toes to point forward. So now you're facing the side of the mat. You might need to widen the stance a little bit. Left hip stays over the left knee. Right toes point forward, and outer edge of the right foot is down on the mat. Bring the hands up to the hips. Reach the left arm up. Right hand slides down the side of the leg, and you reach up and over. Gate pose, Parigasana. Come back to center, hands to the hips, fold forward halfway, then bring the hands down in front of the shoulders. Right knee comes in underneath the hip, and then turn yourself to face the top of the mat like tabletop. Tuck the toes, lift the hips up and back. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. So focus on lengthening the legs, lifting the hips, maybe feeling the difference in the right side of the body compared to the left. And we'll start to even it out. Left foot steps up between the hands. Set that back knee down, the right knee, and then bring that right foot in so it points toward the side of the mat. Left forearm, left thigh, right arm reaches up. So side angle pose with the back knee down. And you can feel that spreading across the chest as you reach the right arm up to the sky. Keep that left knee going straight forward, guiding it with the left forearm. We've been here for several breaths. You can stay right here, or option to bring that left hand down inside the foot. You can stay on fingertips. You could be on a block. See where it feels right on this side. And it might be in a totally different spot. That's fine. Left arm, left leg pressing into one another as you reach up with the right arm. We're taking this to warrior two. Take your time, keep the back knee down, spread the arms out wide. And that right hip, it's like it's pushing that left hip forward and you're rising up through the crown of the head. Hands come to the hips. Turn those left toes to point toward the side of the mat. Bring the hands down in front of the shoulders and just make sure the right knee is right over, or the right hips right over the right knee. And then you can walk the hands back up to the hips. Reach the right arm up, left hand down the side of the leg, back to gate pose, reaching up and over with that right arm. Hands come back to the hips, fold forward halfway, hands come down to the ground, left knee comes in, turn your tabletop to face the top of the mat, come back to downward facing dog. Put a bend in the knees, look forward, step or walk the feet up between the hands, take your time. Coming into a forward fold at the top of the mat. Heel toe the feet a little wider. It could even go to the outer edges of the mat. Clasp opposite elbows, let the head and the neck go. Option, if the shoulders feel open enough, you could interlace the fingers behind the back. If you check that out and it's too much and you don't have a strap or anything, then just keep the arms crossed in front of you, clasping opposite elbows. Shift the weight a little bit forward into the feet so you're heavier on the balls of the feet. And wherever you are, pull those shoulders away from the ears up toward the hips. Then whatever you have, switch it. So if the fingers are interlaced, go one finger over. And if you are clasping opposite forearms, then switch that other forearm in front. Hands come back down to the mat, heel toe the feet back to hip width distance. On an inhale, come up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Axial forward fold. We're doing that 2 more times. Hands slide up the sides of the legs on the inhale, heart forward. Exhale, fold back down. Last one. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, full. We're coming all the way up. Circle the arms on the inhale. Bring the hands together overhead, down in front of the heart. Inhale, reaching the arms up. Exhale, forward fold all the way down. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, bend the knees, bring the hands down to the mat. Keep reaching the heart forward as you step back to plank pose. Lower all the way down to the mat slowly with control. See if you can set yourself down all at one time, which means hover for a second and then set the whole body down. Hands come back by the lower ribs. Come up for cobra, maybe a little higher. You already did some back bends. Exhale, release, downward facing dog. Either hands and knees to get there, or you could take plank. Bend the knees, look forward, feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms up on the inhale. Hands come together at the very top on your exhale, down in front of the heart. Surya A. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat. Step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway, chaturanga, up dog, or cobra. Good. Down dog. Put a bend in the knees, look forward, be light, get the feet up between the hands as quietly as you can. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. Circle the arms up to standing, hands come together, down in front of the heart. One more cycle. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhaling up halfway. Exhale, hands down to the mat, step back to plank pose. Lower down halfway, chaturanga. Inhale up for your back bend. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Really pretty up dogs. Right foot steps up between the hands. Spin that left heel down flat, right forearm, right thigh, side angle pose. Left arm reaches up, not overhead. So as you reach that left arm up, spread the chest, spread the arms out wide, keep guiding that right knee straight forward over the second and third toe. So for some of us, that knee wants to cave in and we lose the hip opening. So lengthen that right inner thigh forward, but make sure you're not putting all the weight into the front leg. Root down through that back leg, like you're trying to reach that left leg through the floor, through the mat. Outer edge of the foot pressing down. Stay here. Option to bring the right hand down inside the foot on fingertips, block. You can skip it if you want to. Left arm still reaching up. Right arm, right leg are pressing into one another if the hand is down. Fire up both legs, warrior two. Straighten the front leg, Hands to the hips, turn those right toes in, fold forward halfway, bring the hands down in front of the shoulders. Heels in, toes out a little bit. So not the widest stance or not the widest pointing out of the toes. Left knee bends, right leg straightens. Keep both feet down for now. Chest is reaching forward. Hands are probably down for support. So it's a high skandasana. Then come back to center, toes point forward toward the side of the mat. And now turn the toes to point forward toward the top of the mat. Hands down, step back to downward facing dog. Stay there or maybe take a vinyasa. You choose when you want them. You can skip as many of them as you want, all of them. It's just a matter of getting warmed up with those Surya A's. And then after that, it's your choice. Left foot steps up between the hands. Right heel down flat, heel to arch or heel to heel. Left forearm, left thigh, right arm reaches up. So get the width across the chest, send that left knee straight forward. Keep reaching through that back leg. And think that image of reaching the leg through the mat helps you ground down through the outer edge of the right foot, keeping that whole side engaged. Option to bring that left hand down inside the foot. Stay long in the left side of the torso. Keep reaching up with the right arm. Warrior 2, stay even in the legs, hug the core in, spread the arms out wide. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips, turn those left toes in to face the side of the mat, fold forward halfway, hands down in front of the shoulders, heels in, toes out a little bit, bend the right leg. Left leg stays straight and the foot stays down. Keep reaching the heart forward, fingertips underneath you, so you can keep everything high. Back to center, toes point toward the side of the mat, and then turn the toes to face the top of the mat. Hands down, step back, downward facing dog. Stay here for 5 breaths or take a vinyasa, a slow and meaningful vinyasa, feeling each pose, linking it with your breath, trying not to rush through. Bend the knees, look forward, step, walk, hop, bring the feet up between the hands, forward fold. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold, come into chair pose, bend the knees, reach the arms up. And then from chair pose, start to shift the weight over to the right foot. Lift the left heel up and away from the mat. So toes and ball of the foot are still down on the mat, but you're putting more weight on the right leg. And then see if you can bring that left knee up toward the chest and rise up to standing. So that right leg gets straight. Level off the sit bones like we practiced on our back. So that left hip wants to lift up. Keep it so that the left sit bone's in line with the right. Right thigh presses back. Extend the left leg forward. You can grab onto the bottom of the left thigh, interlacing the fingers to keep the leg extending forward. Then bend the left knee, right hand, right hip, left hand, left knee. This is also easier too to reach the right arm out to the side. You choose, but left knee comes out to the side. Try not to lift that left sit bone up. Keep pressing the right thigh back. Keep the chest lifted and proud. Gazing at something straight in front of you is always helpful. Try not to move the eyes. Come back to center, knee forward, right arm up. Reach the left arm up. Extend that left leg forward and step the feet side by side. Bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. Shift the weight over to the left foot, lift the right heel up. Get as light as you can in that right foot without lifting it. And then start to bring the right knee in toward the chest, looking straight forward. Rise up to standing with control. Once you get there, level off the sit bones. That's what's going to help you with your balance. And then extend that right leg forward. Grab onto the bottom of the right thigh, pressing out through the sole of the right foot. Keep that left thigh pressing back so you stand a little taller. Bend the right knee, right hand, right knee, left arm maybe reaches out to the side, or left hand, left hip. Keep your drishti in front of you. Open the knee out to the right. Try not to lift that right sit bone. Keep pressing that left thigh back. Keep the chest lifted, core hugging in. Outer left hip is also hugging in toward the midline. Back to center with that right knee. Left arm reaches up, right arm reaches up, right leg extends out in front of you, and the feet step side by side. Bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold, straighten the legs. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, hands to the mat. Any way you want, back to downward facing dog. So you can step straight back. You could take a vinyasa, a modified vinyasa. Taking every opportunity to customize your practice when you need it. Right foot steps up between the hands. Left heel down flat. Back to side angle pose. Forearm to thigh. Left arm reaches up. Option to bring that right hand down inside the foot. Block, fingertips. This time, left palm can face behind you. You can wrap the left arm behind the back. Just try not to collapse the chest. If you feel like the shoulders are open enough, you could reach underneath that right thigh with the right hand and see if the hands connect. But you're keeping that lunge in the front leg, all that length out through the crown of the head. And if the full bind isn't happening, just stick with the half bind. That's fine too. Right hand comes down if it's behind the leg. Left arm reaches up. Take this to warrior two. Put some weight in that back leg as you rise up with the chest. Then straighten the front leg. Bring the hands to the hips. Turn those right toes in. Fold forward halfway. Hands down in front of the shoulders. Heels in, toes out. Skandasana. So bending the left leg, straightening the right. You could come lower if you want to, if the leg feels open enough. Maybe the toes lift, maybe the hands come together at the heart. You're just focusing on bringing that right heel in toward the body instead of pushing that right leg away from you. So keep that energy there. Hands come down to the mat, shift back onto both feet, straightening the legs, hands underneath the shoulders, and then turn the toes to the top of the mat, step back to downward facing dog. 5 breaths here or a vinyasa. Left foot steps up between the hands. Right heel down flat, side angle pose, forearm to thigh to start, right arm reaches up. This is a nice way to come into this, even if you are going to take it a little bit deeper, because you can get the alignment of the spine and then feel how the pose changes once you intensify it. Maybe left hand comes down inside the foot, fingertip blocks wherever it naturally wants to go, which may not be the floor at all. Right palm turns to face behind you. Wrap the right arm behind the back. So stay here in the half bind. How has this changed the pose? Can you keep the length in the spine, chest rolling up, belly hugging in? Those are all solid yeses. Maybe the left hand reaches underneath and you connect the hands. Still keeping that length in the spine and that left knee pointing straight forward. Energy in the back leg. Left hand comes back down if it's up. Right arm reaches up. Warrior two, Virabhadrasana 2. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips, left toes point in, fold forward halfway. Hands come down in front of the shoulders, heels in, toes out. Right leg bends, left leg straightens. Either that high skandasana with the feet down, or you start to come down a little lower with the hips. Maybe the left toes reach up, maybe the hands come together, but also not trying to force your way into something that the body doesn't want. So make sure it all feels natural. Keep pulling that left heel in toward the body as you lift the chest. Hands come back down to the mat, straighten the legs, toes point toward the side of the mat, and then walk the hands to the top of the mat, toes point forward, hands down, back to downward facing dog. Stay there or flow. Bend the knees, look forward, feet up between the hands. Inhale up halfway. Exhale, fold. So feet are hip width distance apart. You could even take two fists side by side and make sure you can fit them between the feet. That's ideally about how far apart you want them to be. Then bring the right hand to the right hip. Grab the big toe on the left foot with the first two fingers and the thumb, and then bend the knees like you're coming into chair pose, and you'll feel the big toe press down into the fingers and the fingers lift up toward the big toe. But the hips are pointing straight back. So sometimes when we shift the hips all the way over to the right, hug that right hip in so everything's reaching forward, chest reaching forward. And then same thing we did before, get heavy in the right foot, lift the heel of the left foot, keep that gaze going straight forward and start to rise up, hugging that left knee in toward the underarm, pressing the right thigh back, standing tall on the right leg. We're just keeping the leg bent to start. So we can adjust the sit bone. So left sit bone in line with the right. Right arm reaches up. Maybe you extend the leg forward. It doesn't have to be all the way straight. So if it's not ready, don't force it. If it feels good, keep the chest lifted. Gaze straight forward, eye level. Open it up. So you turn those toes out. Left leg comes out to the side. You can always grab the knee too. Right thigh goes back. Chest is nice and open. Rise up through the crown of the head. Stay rooted in that right leg. Slowly back to center. Left leg comes forward. Right leg reaches up. Left arm reaches up. Left foot down by the right foot. Bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Widen the feet out to the outer edges of the mat. And then any options, you can clasp opposite elbows and nod the head yes and no a couple times. You could sway side to side if that feels okay in the spine. Just kind of shaking off that last standing pose, Padangusthasana. Hand to big toe. All right, hands come down to the mat, heel toe the feet. Find that fist, the two fists between the feet. And then from here, you'll bring the right hand to the, left hand to the left hip, left hand, left hip. Grab the right big toe with the first two fingers and the thumb. Bend the knees, keeping the feet down on the mat. So think chair pose, reaching the heart forward. And then make sure that left hip isn't swinging out to the left. Start to press down to the sole of the left foot, lifting the right heel up. Keep the gaze forward with the chest reaching forward and start to press into that left leg, hugging the right knee in toward the shoulder, rising up to standing, bringing the gaze eye level, pressing that left thigh back. Level off the sit bones, commit to keeping them there. Reach that left arm up. Right leg goes forward, can be bent, extended, see how open it is. We're all going to be different. Pull that right shoulder back if it's reaching way far forward. Turn the right toes out, open it up. Left arm comes out to the side, outer left hip hugs in, stand tall. Left thigh back, belly lifts, chest open. Sit bones even. Back to center, right leg forward, left arm up. Right arm up, keep that right leg lifted. Feet side by side, bend the knees, sit back, chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Heel toe the feet a little bit wider. Clasp opposite elbows the other way, so the way that doesn't feel like the first way you want to go. You can nod the head yes and no, or you can sway side to side. A little bit of movement might be nice. It's a big peak pose. Hands come back down in front of the shoulders. Heel toe the feet back to hip width. Inhale up halfway, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hands down to the mat, bend the knees. Make your way back to downward facing dog. So you have time for a vinyasa. You also have time to stay in downward facing dog. Right foot steps up between the hands. Spin that left heel down flat. Right forearm, right thigh, left arm reaches up. Side angle pose. Maybe right hand comes down inside of the right foot. Half bind if you want it. Turn that left hand to face behind you. Wrap the arm behind the back. Maybe right hand underneath the thigh. If you're feeling really good and you want to play, you can play with birds of paradise. If that's not happening, just stay here. If you want to play with it, look forward at the right foot. Left foot steps up next to the right foot. Press down into the left leg, lift that right heel up. Same thing we did before. Left leg like chair pose. Don't let the hips swing out to the side. Looking forward, pressing yourself up to standing. And once you get to standing, maybe you don't straighten the leg. Left thigh goes back, hips are side by side. Maybe the right leg extends. Chest lifts. Any version's okay. Then bend that right leg, set it back down onto the mat. We're coming out the way we came in. Left foot steps back to side angle pose with the full bind. Good. Right hand comes down, left arm reaches up. Warrior two. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips, turn those right toes in, fold forward, down over the legs. And then this time, let's walk the hands over to the left leg. So legs are straight, you're walking the hands over, let the head and the neck go. Hands come back down in front of the shoulders, lifting the chest. Turn the toes to the top of the mat. Step back, downward facing dog. Stay there or vinyasa. Left foot steps up between the hands. Right heel down flat. Left forearm, left thigh. Right arm reaches up. Left hand down inside the foot, half bind. Turn that right palm to face behind you. Wrap the right arm behind the back. Shoulder away from the ear. Maybe left hand reaches underneath the left thigh and you come into the full bind. If this is working well on this side, look down at the left foot, step that right foot forward. You're welcome to stay where you are. Then start to look forward, bend the knees like chair pose, hug that outer right hip in, belly hugs in too. Lift the pelvic floor as you press into the right foot and start to bring that left knee up toward the underarm, coming up to standing. Right thigh presses back. Sit bones level, maybe that left leg extends. It doesn't have to go all the way. And it can definitely stay bent too. Left foot bends, bring that left foot back down to the mat, Step back with the right leg, coming back into your bound Pashimotanasana. Left hand down, right arm up. Free that upper body up. Come up to warrior two. Straighten the front leg, hands to the hips. Turn those left toes in to face the side of the mat. Fold forward halfway, bring the hands down in front of the shoulders, keeping the legs straight, just walk the hands over to the right leg. Release the neck, the head. Hands come back underneath the shoulders, lifting up halfway. Turn the toes to the top of the mat. Step back to dog. Last vinyasa if you want it. Otherwise, stay in dog. Once you get to downward facing dog, bring the knees down to the mat. Bring the chest down to the mat. So you're coming down to lying on your stomach. And then press down to the tops of the feet. Reach the arms back behind you. Squeeze those hands together. Option to interlace the fingers and point the knuckles back. That's certainly deeper. If it takes away too much space from the lower back, skip it. Just make sure those inner thighs are rolling up toward the sky. Inhale, lift the chest. Pull those hands back behind you, however you have them. Shoulders away from the ears. And release. Make a pillow with the hands, rest the head. Rest the feet and the legs. Lift the head, bring the hands to the mat, come up to tabletop, feet come over to one side, and you're coming onto your back for bridge pose. So feet forward, come down onto your back. So second back bend, walk the feet in so the heels are underneath the knees, press into the feet, lift the hips up, interlace the fingers underneath you, getting those shoulder blades underneath you a little bit so you can press the outer upper arms into the mat. Lift and spread the chest, lengthen the thigh bones away from you. And slowly release. Hips come back down to the mat, rest. So we'll do one more back bend. You can stick with bridge. If you feel like you want to go all the way up for Urdhva Dhanurasana, that's option B. Press into the feet, lift the hips up, either interlace the fingers underneath you for bridge pose or bring the hands back by the ears, pressing into the hands and the feet at the same time to come onto the top of the head, making sure those shoulders are plugged in as you rise all the way up. Chin to chest if you're all the way up. Slowly bring the hips back down wherever you are. Bring the knees together and the feet wide. So the feet go to the outer edges of the mat and the knees just knock together in the center. Keeping the feet wide, bring both knees over to the left. So the knees are going over to the left, right arm reaches outside the right shoulder. You're really gentle in a gentle twist. Gaze is over that right shoulder. You could stay like this. Be careful with this one. If you know it, then maybe try it. Left foot can go on top of the right knee at top of the thigh area. And that makes it a little bit deeper. So make sure everything feels okay, especially in the lower back, sacral area. If it doesn't, then just unhook the foot and it's not a big deal. But know that you're applying more pressure there. So you really want to feel good in that area to take it deeper. Left foot comes back down to the mat. If you hooked it, keep the feet wide. Knees come back to center. Same thing other side. So feet wide, knees come all the way over to the right. Left arm reaches outside the shoulder. Stay here for a couple of breaths. And if you want to take it further, right foot can come outside of the left knee, left thigh, really the thigh, just down by the knee. Then unhook the foot if you have it. Bring the knees back to center, feet back to center. And this time we'll roll over to the right side using the hands to bring ourselves up to seated. So once you come up to seated, come to an easy cross-legged seat, Sukhasana. Doesn't matter which shin's in front, but you'll want to cross at mid shin. Some of you might feel open enough for double pigeon. If that's the case, toes point forward. You take this front foot and you stack it on top of the bottom knee. And you want to make sure that the knees and the ankles are stacked. So it's also known as fire log, if that helps you think about the placement of things. And if you have a big gap between the knee and the bottom foot, you can always put something between it, block, pillow, blanket, whatever it is. So if this is working great, feet flex. If it's not working, you just bring that foot down and you do everything else the same. If it's working, you can start to fold forward over the legs. Start to walk the hands back in. If you have double pigeon, just take that front foot, set it down onto the mat. Bring the hands back behind you, feet wide. Remember which leg was in front, so you can switch and you'll move the knees side to side. And we'll go the other way. So other leg in front, don't do the same side twice. Shift side to side on the sit bone so you feel even. And then keeping the toes pointing straight forward, shins are moving away from you. So they're right in line with the knees, not the feet aren't going back. Maybe you take this front foot and you bring it on top of the knee. Stacking the ankles and the feet, you could always use something to bridge that gap between the knee and the ankle. Start to come forward, folding over the legs, coming back in on this side. Double pigeon or Sukhasana. And if you're feeling your hip opening without folding forward, then that's right where you should be. Close the eyes and breathe. It's really about how we feel in these poses, not the way they look. So it's not about going forward farther. It's about feeling your way in to find where's your hip opening in this shape, on this side, on this day, in this moment. Start to bring yourself back up to seated. If you have the feet stacked, set that foot down onto the mat. Bring the hands back behind you, feet wide, knees wide, side to side, windshield wipers. And extend the legs forward out in front of you, coming back to seated. Reach the arms all the way up and folding forward, Pashimotanasana, seated forward fold. Keep that chest and heart reaching forward. You can let the head and the neck go. You can close the eyes. Come back up to seated and either take a seated meditation or lie down onto your back for Shavasana. Take your time getting yourself settled. So if you need props, something to cover the eyes if you're on your back, take a moment to do that. You have a couple minutes here. Comfort is the name of the game for stillness. And once you're there, start to drop in as quickly as possible. If you're in your seated meditation, stay right there in your zone. If you're on your back in Shavasana, start to find some small movements in the hands and the feet, starting to wake the body up, stretching the arms overhead, walking the feet in, bending the legs, rolling over onto your right side, cradling the head and the arm. Press down with the left hand to bring yourself up to your meditation seat. We'll all bring the hands together in front of us, keeping the chest lifted as you slightly bow the head, taking a moment to yourself to honor and acknowledge your heart and spirit, as well as everyone around you. Bring the head back up, blink open the eyes. Namaste. Thanks so much.